Ladies and gentlemen, this is your narrator speaking. Please return your tray tables to their locked and upright positions. Put on your seat belts because you are in for a bumpy ride as we discuss all the fallacies of the Pusser Legend. Welcome to Saturday Shorts. Hey, thanks for joining me today. We are here to discuss the legend of Buford Pusser and all the fallacies therein. Now, a lot of people have been led to believe a lot of false things about the Pusser legend. This comes from movies like Walking Tall, books like 12th of August, so on, and recordings like those from Eddie Bond. There's just so much false information that's been conveyed to the people that people do not know the truth. So therefore, I, your narrator, am here to help. And we'll get started off with Buford when he was a teenager. First item I thought I'd cover is the fact that Buford at one time was a high school dropout. He left school, wanted to work on pipeline to make some big money. Did that for a short time, decided to return to school. And it seems like he got some special favors from the administration at the school as they allowed him to re-enter, do a little extra work to get his credits back in line, and so he could graduate with the class that he would have graduated with had he stayed in school. Now, I might also mention that he was a high school football and basketball star. That is true. While he was a high school student, he did go down to the White Iris. He and some friends, they wanted to have a little state line life, if you will. When they got there, Buford claimed that he saw Louis Hathcock beat a young sailor to death with a ball-peen hammer. Totally false. Now, if you check into things as I have, you will learn that if he did go down there at all, this incident took place at the 45 Grill, not the White Iris. White Iris did not open until 1964. That's 7 or 8 years after Buford claimed he was down there. Now, at the 45 Grill, the incident was between a young naval aviator, Kenneth Wayne McCoy, and Towhead White, not Louis Hathcock. They got into a disagreement. They decided to take it outside and off the property of the 45. So they went a short distance away to engage in fisticuffs, I guess. And at that time, as McCoy was getting out of his car, Towhead White walked up, hit him in the back of the head, and knocked him unconscious. While he was on the ground, White and his friends kicked and beat McCoy. And when they decided to leave, they got in their car and ran over McCoy's legs. Now, I have photographs of Kenneth Wayne McCoy as he is on crutches in a hospital in Memphis. He did go on to serve in the Navy and also the Marines as an aviator, flying both helicopters and A-4 Skyhawks. Upon his discharge from the services, he opened a business in Pensacola, Florida. Did not die until November of 2012. So Buford certainly didn't see him beaten to death with a ball-peen hammer. So let's put that myth to rest. Next comes about how he graduated from high school and joined the Marines. Now, legend has it that Buford was a Marine. The movie Walking Tall shows that he served several years in the Marines and several years in the ring. If you'll remember the part where Pauline is holding his bloodied clothes and makes that claim. Fact is, when he got into the Marines, he went to his basic training, and suddenly developed asthma. Have no idea where that came from because it didn't seem to affect him in high school, where he was a football and basketball star for the Adamsville. And afterwards, it never bothered him when he was a professional wrestler. But in the Marines, it was a problem. Now, something that most people don't know is that if you don't graduate from your basic training, you are not considered a Marine. You're only a recruit. So Buford was never a Marine. Next comes the time when Buford and his friend Billy Christopher made a trip to Memphis. Now, this was right after Buford had been discharged from basic training, and they were on their way back from Memphis when Billy had an auto accident. Now, Buford was ejected from the car. He injured his back, which is true. I don't know how badly. They claim it was broken, but with the Pusser Legend, you never really know sometimes. But at any rate, Buford and Carl, his father, decided to sue the Christophers. Now, I don't know the details of the proceedings, but I do have a document on my Facebook page showing that Buford lost that lawsuit. So it was for $25,000. That would be like suing someone today for $250,000. So I don't know what kind of story that Buford told, but obviously it didn't convince the court that he was right. So there is that. Be sure and subscribe and hit that bell so that you'll get notifications of new videos when they're released. Now, this story goes on to say that Buford was laid up for quite some time, from November up through January. Sometime in February, Buford decided when he was feeling better that he would go down to the state line once again. Well, this time he was the victim of being beat up, cut up, and robbed, or at least that's what he claimed. Now, I say that's what he claimed because there were no witnesses to this. Buford nor his father filed a police report. There's no medical evidence to support it, and so nobody knows anything about it. Now, you would think that Buford, who claimed that he received 192 stitches in his face and his head to repair the wounds, somebody would notice that. Walking around Adamsville, a town of 1,000 people, you would think that that would be the talk of the town. But nope, nobody knows about Buford being beat up, cut up, and stabbed like he claimed. There's nothing to support it. So again, here we have a story that can't be verified in any way. Just part of the legend. Now at this point, Buford apparently decides to dump his girlfriend, Jean Gilchrist, and head to Chicago, where he wants to get into mortuary school. So he moves up there, and while he's there and attending mortuary school, he also goes to work for the Union Bag Company, where several of his friends from the area were employed. At some point there along around the middle of 1959, he meets Pauline Mullins, who is from Virginia. They date for a while, and they get married in early December. Now, Buford's the father of 2 kids via the marriage of Pauline to Pete Vance, and maybe he didn't have any money. Maybe he just needed some extra cash. Who knows what his reasoning was? But at this point, he and 2 friends, Jerry Wright and Marvin King Jr., go down to the state line. They go into the Plantation Club. They sit there and wait until just about everybody has left. And actually, W.O. Hathcock was the only one in the club by the time that this happened. Of course, you did have his wife, Larice, there up in the living quarters, but she didn't know what was going on when Buford and his 2 friends assaulted W.O. W.O. had gone to the dance floor to unplug the jukebox. When he was walking back, he noticed that King and right were sitting in the bar area, but he no longer saw Marvin King Jr. As he walked past a pony wall, he felt a blow to the back of his head and was rendered unconscious. And while he was unconscious, he was hogtied, and they stepped on his neck, shoulder, they kicked him some, and caused him severe injuries. He was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. Now, of course, they claimed that they had no part of it. They were arrested in January of 1960 by the Chicago authorities and transported back down to Alcorn County to stand trial. Now, at the trial, of course, they had alibis and everything. Their time cards showed that they were all clocked in. There's no way that it could have been them that did it, so on. And then they were acquitted of a robbery charge, and the charge for attempted murder that had been filed against them was dropped because the prosecutor felt if he couldn't prove that they were there to rob W.O., they certainly couldn't prove that they were there to kill him either. So that charge was dropped. Years later, after Buford was sheriff, he admitted that they committed perjuries, told a reporter that, and he felt like that W.O. got what he deserved. And to this day, we haven't been able to establish, either through the Hathcock family or the Pusser family, why those two men didn't get along. Just another part of the legend. Now, as you can tell from this story, Buford didn't carry a big stick. That was a fabrication made for the movie Walking Tall. It was a Hollywood prop, nothing else. Now, a lot of people believe that Buford carried one, but the only instance that we can find where Buford ever used a stick, club, whatever you want to call it, was allegedly when he was arresting some moonshiners one time. There's about a half a dozen of them. They jumped him. He grabbed a fence post and to beat him off with. Now, who knows if that's true, but that's the only record of him using a club of any kind, a big stick, if you will. Now, the other thing that is notable about the big stick is that when they were making the movie Walking Tall, he was the technical advisor, and when he learned that they had incorporated a stick into the story, he became angry. He didn't want anybody to believe that he required a stick to take care of dispensing his form of justice. He was so angry, they had to shut the set down for a day. Now, there's a whole lot more of this to come. And since this is called Saturday Shorts, I think we're going to wait and share the rest of it next Saturday. So join us when you'll learn more about the legend and just how fabricated it is. Hope you join us then.